Καλησπέρα και καλώς ήρθατε στην Ελληνοαμερικανική Ένωση. Πριν από περίπου 60 χρόνια, η Ελληνοαμερικανική Ένωση είχε φιλοξενήσει εδώ την Elizabeth Taylor και τον άντρα της, τον Mike Todd, τον τότε άντρα της, τον Mike Todd, ο οποίος γύριζε τον κόσμο να παρουσιάσει το νέο του σύστημα, το Todd Drama. Τότε αρχίζει η σχέση της Ελληνοαμερικανικής Ένωσης με το Hollywood και τον Αμερικανικό κινηματογράφο και ακολουθώντας αυτή την παράδοση καλέσαμε τον Sid Ganis, πολύ γνωστό παραγωγό του Hollywood, να συζητήσει με τον Υφυπουργό τον κύριο Φραγκογιάννη για θέματα που έχουν σχέση με την ίδρυση ενός κέντρου.
Sid.
Oh, thank you.
Sure.
Very wise. Thank you very much.
I took it for granted that you had your...
But I know what you're saying.
All right. Ο λόγος που τον καλέσαμε εδώ είναι η ίδρυση ενός εκπαιδευτικού κέντρου για τον κινηματογράφο, το οποίο θα ιδρύσουν η Ελληνοαμερικανική Ένωση και το Hellenic American University, το οποίο στην Ελλάδα δραστηριοποιείται ως Hellenic American College. Ο Sid Ganis είναι ένας πολύ πετυχημένος παραγωγός ταινιών στο Hollywood. Θεωρώ ότι η πιο μεγάλη του επιτυχία ήταν ο γάμος του με μία κυρία η οποία διακρίνεται στον ίδιο χώρο, αλλά μεταξύ των άλλων επιτυχιών του αναφέρονται οι ταινίες Forrest Gump, τα Ghosts και άλλες. Δεν θα πω περισσότερα για να παρουσιάσω, ούτε θα παρουσιάσω τον κύριο Φραγκογιάννη. Ο κύριος Φραγκογιάννης είναι ένας πολύ δυναμικός υπουργός και έχει ιδιαίτερο ενδιαφέρον για την ενθάρρυνση των δραστηριοτήτων των σχετικών με τον κινηματογράφο, ένα ενδιαφέρον που το συμμερίζεται με τον σημερινό Πρωθυπουργό. Ευχαριστώ.
Well, it's truly great to be sitting next to you, Mr. Ganis. You represent a great deal of international success in the filming industry, and I would recommend that you take a few minutes of the audience's time to talk about yourself and your past and your successes, if you can do that in a few minutes.
Well, they're not all successes, though. Sometimes they're not successful.
But you have to fail in order to
yes,
succeed.
But first, I want to definitely thank President Kostkos for having me here tonight, and of course, thanking you for, doing this with me tonight. And for me, it's a little bit special because, yes, I am from the U.S., and yes, I guess you could say I'm from Hollywood, although my wife and I live in San Francisco, not quite Hollywood. But more important than all of that is I'm Greek, and I'm very happy to be Greek. And, my family is from Yanina, and on this very trip, I will be visiting my homeland for the very first time. So this is very important, but I'm going home. And I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about being here with everybody today to talk about film. And my career has been, you say talk about yourself. Goodness gracious, I've been in this business for, next year is 113 years that I've been in the business. Not quite, but I've been in the business for a very, very long time. I grew up in it. Started out working for a Greek in New York City when I was 22 years old. The Greek was Spiros Skouras, who was the president or the head, the CEO of 20th Century Fox. Right. So my first boss was a Greek. And worked in the industry at Fox and then Columbia Pictures and then you know, other companies, eventually Warner Brothers and Paramount Pictures. I ran Paramount Pictures for a while, and then eventually joined the George Lucas Company and worked at Lucasfilm for 6 wonderful years during the days of not Star Wars, but beginning with Empire Strikes Back, through the first Raider of the Lost Ark, the first Raiders movies, where I met my wife Nancy, who's here somewhere, literally, so that's very important in my life. I met her on the set of Raiders of the Lost Ark, and worked there for a total of 6 years, and then went on to Paramount Pictures and eventually Sony Pictures, and you know, have been in the business for many years. And as you said before, often with success, but it's the movie business. So it's sometimes with success and sometimes with hopefully not abject failure, but not pictures that go on. You know, when you go into a venture, I'm sure many of you know, of making a movie, you go in with the highest expectations, no matter what. You don't want to be in this business unless you have the very highest expectations. And sometimes those expectations don't pan out. It's happened to me any number of times. But then you move on to the next project.
And you've done a fantastic work so far. You know, I did not realize that we have a little bit more than what I thought in common. One is that I left my heart in San Francisco. I spent 7 years in the Bay Area, so I know a little bit of California. But I've been very keen promoting the film industry in Greece lately. We try to do from the side of the government whatever is possible to see that other people become 113 years old like yourself. Mm-hmm. And I suspect that 113 is by working 20 hours a day and then dividing it by 8, and so you come up with this number. But the truth of the matter is that when we talk about the film industry, and I'm going to make this statement and then ask for your opinion and as far as how to move forward in pursuing the country endeavors in the film industry, is by supporting and incentivizing the producers like yourself to come to Greece and film in the country. And the second pillar is that of promoting foreign direct investment in as far as setting up cinematography studios, film studios in the country. So in the first pillar, we've passed a few laws and we've provided incentives in as far as subsidies is concerned, up to 40% of cash rebate, which is one of the highest in the world.
Yes, did you say cash rebate?
Cash rebates,
okay.
Right.
Any nationality caste or Greek caste?
No, cash.
Cash, cash.
C-A-S-H.
Cash
rebate.
rebate, okay.
So any expenses for any production that goes above 100,000 euro in the country is entitled to a cash rebate of as much as 40%, which is quite significant.
Mr. Minister, that's huge.
That is huge.
Of course it
used to be 35, we just passed the new law, it's 40. There is a tax relief that goes along with that. There is tremendous support from ECOME, which is the Audiovisual Association that supports the tax relief and the cash rebate and all of the production-related technicians and other institutions that need to play a role in the filming of a movie, of a cinematography project. And then on the side, on the pillar of the foreign direct investment incentives, we provide subsidies and smart one-stop shop services and fast track and permitting and whatever it takes. So the first question that I would like to raise to you with your experience is, what do you think of this?
Where do I sign up is the answer. And I mean it. I'm not exaggerating at all.
And what else does one have to do in order to make it super attractive?
Well, first of all, this is literally the first I've heard of the package that you've just described to me. And, you know, and I'm not kidding, where do I sign up? I am exaggerating, of course. But the opportunity here to work under those conditions those conditions. There are other conditions too that we're going to talk about, I'm sure. But to work under those conditions is exactly what we're looking for. The very first thing that I ask whoever it is I'm working with, first words out of my mouth, yeah, but what's the rebate? What's the tax incentive? What is it that's getting me there, you know, at the right price? That's the first thing I ask about, and then there are many more down the line. So what you've just told me is extraordinary. And then I would say to you and others who are involved in that program is, does the world know about that? Does the world know and understand that when they come to Greece to film, there's this, I call it a package, but there are these items that make filming in Greece, at least on the financial end, just on the financial end now, so very attractive. I mean, you have me very excited about this with no exaggeration at all.
Well, the world seems to know about it. There seem to be, this past year and a half, a great number of productions that take place in the country. Mr. Ganis, are you here? Okay. Do you have a microphone? Perhaps you can share with us, Mr. Ganis is the president of ECOME, and he provides the support and the approval of the incentives, and he is aware of every single production that takes place in Greece as we speak. So I would very much like to hear you say at this moment in time, this past few months and the coming next months, what sort of productions are taking place in the country?
I can stand so that everybody...
Come here, come. Okay with you?
Oh, yeah, no problem. I mean,
Oh, okay.
The microphone is
He's
right
got
there.
a microphone. No.
Well, there's
Hello,
a microphone.
hello.
Yeah, now you're on.
Well, the thing is that since we started the incentives in 2018, we witnessed a huge inflow of projects coming to Greece. Even during 2020, during the pandemic, actually immediately after the pandemic, when we opened as a country in June, because of the very good handling of the pandemic, we had many projects coming from Southern Europe and Northern Africa that couldn't go to Spain or Italy, and they were coming at the last minute to Greece. So we witnessed also that. We had to handle several productions from the States or from the UK coming July, August, September 2020. But because of a couple of changes that we did at the law last July and December, since January, we had several productions, big productions coming to Greece. And to give you a couple of numbers to understand the difference is that until 2020, the largest production that we had were two of 3.5 million euros spending in Greece. That was in 2020, two American movies. Since January, we have over 10 productions between 8 million and 20. These it's, you know, the numbers have skyrocketed. And the big problem now that the country, I mean, is facing is basically that all these productions need infrastructure.
Of course.
So the thing is, how do we build an infrastructure, a permanent infrastructure in our country, so that these productions that come, they keep coming for many years to come.
Right. Well, first of all, very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking the microphone. And that's the second part of what I was going to say to you. I mean, yes, the financial side of it, as both of you just described, is great. But then there's the business of making a movie. And not the business of making a movie, but the art of making a movie. And that involves so very many people on so many different levels in the most collaborative way. So the infrastructure, as you just said, is the other key to this. I mean, there's more even than that, but the infrastructure becomes the other key to it, and maybe that's where, I mean, as I said before, now that I know about why a producer would say, let's go make our movie or part of our movie in some place in Greece, that's crystal clear now to me. And I'm going to, Nancy and my wife Nancy and I are going to take advantage of that one day. Assuming that some of the other needs go with it, the permitting needs and, you know, everything that goes with the process of getting a film started here in Greece. But then the other part of it is as equally as important, more important. In the end, you can't do it unless you have a prop man person who knows how to do that job.
Trained human capital.
Trained to be a prop person. And I'm using a prop person just because why not use a prop person? That person is one of many. Or a script supervisor who can handle a script the way it needs to be handled on the set.
This is all very true, Sid. I mean, I remember a year and a half ago being in Chicago. I paid a visit to CineSpace Studios. I'm sure you know of the company. They're based in Chicago and in Toronto. They have both analog and digital studios, and they do a number of productions. And when we talked about political stability and the economic prosperity and the human capital and the light of the country and the places where they can go shooting and the incentives that we provide, one of the things they mentioned, and I still remember that moment, is that it takes more than just human capital and university graduates, but you also need carpenters, for example.
Yeah, you need carpenters. You need carpenters and you need sound people.
Exactly, simply because behind the facade of a beautiful stage, what you see is a great deal of work that has been made by carpenters.
Yes, of course.
So one of the things that we do as we speak is to work closely with ECOME that represents knowledge in as far as what the producers need in order to make sure that we provide the proper skills for those who come to the country to do the shooting, to do the filming, or those who wish to invest into setting up cinematography studios.
Well, you do it for the right reason, Mr. Minister. He's a key to it. He knows, as you said. But then there's the other part of it, which is the training of the men and women to learn the skills that it takes to be the carpenter, to be the sound man, to be the prop man on the set. And that's where you know, internships come into it, and the learning process, the university learning process, this very location that we're sitting in now may come into it in a big way. I hope it does. Having to do with the skill, the learned skill of what it means to be a carpenter on a movie set. It's a little bit different than being a carpenter, you know, at a home, building a home.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, only because you just reminded me that DePaul University, which in Chicago is one of the leading universities in the region, not only offers the training that is needed in various fields of cinematography and filmmaking, but they also, as a matter of fact, had a certain classroom, a certain set of classrooms of their own within the premises of CineSpace Studios. So it's a two-way street. It's the studios towards the university campus, and it's part of the campus within the cinematography studios.
Of course, it works both ways, and it serves the studios.
And exactly, and I'm so happy to hear from the president the idea of setting up something of that sort in the country, because I think it will support the needs of the people who come to the country to do their own filming of whatever it is that they do.
Well, you know, when any foreign entity, any film company from any place in the world comes to Greece, yes, we'll bring, you know, our key people, not many, half a dozen key people, and then we want and expect the service of the carpenter who knows how to do it from right here.
Exactly.
You know, a local person from right here.
And I think
so
that
it's a process, you know, it takes time and learning and energy, and it can be done, it can be done. Atlanta, Georgia is a good example. 20 years ago, the people of Georgia, people of Atlanta, Georgia said, the government of Atlanta, Georgia said, we want to be a film center. And slowly but surely, but definitely, they, through the work they've done in those 20 years, they become a major film center. Just the way Chicago now is it's no longer Hollywood. Yes, I'm from Hollywood. Big deal. It's not so important anymore. I'm really from the film community of the world now, and you know, happy to be a part of it. So,
wait until we set up Athens would.
Yeah, sure. Yes, I believe that.
You know, it's this is also the case in many industries, and I see that in my work in economic diplomacy at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that when you start something up, in time, one good thing leads to another, and one level of training leads to a center of excellence in the same field. In Bulgaria, there is cinematography studios nowadays. In Malta, there are cinematography studios. In the UK and Ireland, there is quite a few, and there had not been in the past 15 or 20 years. And the funny thing is that when it started up, it was flooded with expatriate communities of experts of all kinds who brought their knowledge to do what the company they worked for was made to do. And nowadays they have locals.
Right.
They have locals. So I think there is a tremendous opportunity for the Greek youth to become trained in filming. As was said a few minutes ago, 10 productions are being filmed in Greece since January this year, with an average of $8 to $10 million or euro each, and that is a sign of the future that is coming up. I think it's going to be very bright. There is a there is a wind that is blowing in this direction.
Well, it's a sign of the future, certainly.
Exactly.
It seems to me there's room for more. I mean, you would know better than certainly than I would, but 10 productions is great, and is there room for 20 productions? I know you don't have the infrastructure at this moment, but
Turn on your microphone.
I just mentioned the productions which have an over 8 million euros budget Greek spending, because we have dozens of productions coming to Greece, but the budgets are much smaller. We have 500,000, 1 million, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Surely.
But because the law gives a bonus to the productions over 8 million euros of Greek spending in Greece, to include in the budget the non-resident labor, this is a huge incentive, because they can put the money spent on above the line, the fees of the fee of the A-list actors and the director, they can put it in the budget, like we have right now. We had this summer Daniel Craig, who came for his latest movie, or Antonio Banderas, and now we have at the end of October we have Jason Statham and Andy Garcia coming, and Mega Fox coming. So it's a big incentive for American production.
Very exciting, very exciting. What seems to be happening here in Greece, in Athens, and elsewhere.
It's all over. It's all over Greece.
All over
Greece. Yeah.
This is you're doing the right thing, Mr. Minister. Definitely, of course. It's what we're looking for. You know, again, my wife Nancy said to me the other day, she said, you have the content, you have the stories, you certainly have the locations. What you need is the people, the infrastructure now.
We are working very hard in the setting up of the infrastructure. I think it is very important that filming studios soon become a reality in Greece. There is some work that is already being done in the northern part of the country. I understand that they're setting up some in Thessaloniki, and hopefully soon there's going to be studios of significant size in Athens.
It's good. It's going to pay off. What you're telling me now and what I'm hearing, it's going to pay off. Sure it will.
I don't know if there's any questions that we should be answering, Sid.
Oh, there's one. I know that woman.
I'm curious if you are building sound stages, because that goes hand in hand with doing productions, not just on locations, but to have what we call cover sets, where you can go indoors during rain or whatever to create the insides of the sets you're building.
Well, currently Athens has only 2 sound stages that can host big American productions. They were used by Disney this summer for the Adetokounmpo movie, and afterwards they were used by a Canadian production company for the latest David Cronenberg film, which wrapped up a couple of weeks ago. Currently, as the minister mentioned, we have Millennium Media, you know, the company behind The Expendables and Black Dahlia, yes, and Olympus Has Fallen movies. They have invested. They started investing in creating sound stages in Thessaloniki, right outside of Thessaloniki, and they are the ones who are bringing The Expendables in.
And they're going to build stages too. Is
yes,
that what you're
yes.
saying?
They acquired the land over there, and they are building sound stages.
It makes sense. It's definitely part of the way they think.
Exactly.
Yes, they're producers, but they're also business people.
Exactly,
yeah.
exactly. And there is great interest, as the minister knows, by several business ventures to build the studios in the area of Athens.
You know, I need to give an answer in a little bit more theoretical way, aside of what Mr. Kohanis said in a very practical way. And that is that in every industry, including the filming one, there is always side businesses that are being built around the core business of the industry itself. I just want to give an example of the automotive industry. And there is 2 places on earth that I have been to both many times. One is in Pune, India, and the other is in Bratislava, Slovakia. Bratislava, Slovakia represents the fastest growing automotive center in Europe. And when you look at the huge manufacturing complex that employs 6,000-7,000 people, you ask yourself, what are all of the little tiny plants nearby or around the core Volkswagen or the core Jaguar or the core BMW plant that you're looking at? And this is the cluster, the automotive cluster. Same in Pune with 7 or 8 manufacturing plants of big automotive assembly lines. And I think the same applies to the filming industry, that the more of filming takes place in the country, the more of cinematography is being executed in the country, the more soundstage and the number of series of smaller companies pop up, and they come to support the core aspect of filmmaking, because otherwise the work cannot be done. Well, so that creates more jobs, that creates better expertise, additional know-how, and that is all to the benefit of the core business of filmmaking.
And clearly you're understanding that by the so-called package that you were talking about to encourage filmmakers to come here and create that atmosphere that you're referring to right now.
Exactly.
Of course.
And the other thing that you are very much aware of, and I can tell by looking at your CV earlier than coming to this stage today, is what I call the reputational aspect, the goodwill. And what you do is you set something up that performs well, shooting in Greece, filming in Greece, and that creates an image. It creates goodwill, it creates a reputation, and that multiplies. And if you do that 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times successfully, then the chances that there's going to be 20 or 30 times in demand of others who wish to replicate the success of the first 10 becomes higher.
That's so important, Mr. Minister, of course. Thank you for reminding me of that. You know, the film industry is called an industry, but of course, as I'm sure most everybody in this auditorium knows, it is an art form. It certainly is. And art forms don't just exist on dollars and cents. Art forms exist on reputations and awareness and the way people think about the work and yourself at the end of the process. So what you're saying is exactly true. You know, what we want, I include myself now in your effort and the President's effort, is to have people say about, yeah, we have to go to Greece to shoot. We have to go to Greece, it's great, and here's why it's great. It's essentially what you're talking about. And I have to say that in the film business, we kind of live off of that. Yes, the finance is important, but the relationship, the grit of the relationship is such a key to it, because we're working, as many of you in this room know, we're working at such close quarters at a certain speed that sometimes is a little difficult to deal with, and we need to know that we're working with people we can trust and who come through for us.
So very true. You know, in doing what I do, Sid, often they ask me, what does it take for a corporation in New York or in Singapore or in Tokyo to make a decision to go to Greece or go to another place? And I keep saying that, yes, the incentives make a difference in the political stability and the economic growth and the social cohesiveness, and I can name a number of macroeconomic or macro-political reasons to go to. Sure. But at the end of the day, one thing that makes a huge difference is the belief of theirs that there is a credible partner on the other end of the line.
Of course.
So that makes that's the tipping point. That's the one thing that makes a difference, that they will feel that going to Greece to film their next production, their next movie, in essence, to test the fulfilling of the promise that they make to the shareholders, to the people who put the money, to the actors that are going to put their reputation, name and career and whatever it takes is being put in the right direction, and their vision and their business endeavors and their acting endeavors are being placed on the right track.
That's true. And then there's one more thing that I'd like to point out to you. When you make the Volkswagen, you know, there's a system for making the Volkswagen. When you make a movie, there's a system for it, but that system, you know, wavers throughout the whole entire process.
That's the beauty of it.
So a lot can go wrong, and therefore you have to know that you can depend on the people that you're working with, of course.
Question for Mr. Ganis. Do you believe it's necessary countries that accommodate? Do you believe that it's important for the countries that want to accommodate foreigners' production in their country in a big, long project and not for a small period to have a strong national cinematography, because you see, for example, we see, for example, United Kingdom or now Spain cinema is very strong and at the same time very attractive, because in other countries that accommodate foreigners' production for 3-5 years only with studio, only with facilities, finally they lose the game. Yeah. Because after some time, a new country have more opportunities, are financially or in other ways, and the big studios go in the new country. Right. And the national cinematography don't have any opportunity to be linked with this project.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is why I'm so interested in being here this very moment with President Kosco and the group here at this university, who are thinking long term, who are definitely thinking about how to help create an industry that's going to endure over the years. It's not going to be a one-shot or a two-shot or something that's going to exist, you know, just of the moment. But there are long-term possibilities here. And as I say, you know, I think part of the answer to your question, if I understand it correctly, is building the infrastructure is going to allow that to happen.
And if I may, this is why I also insist so much in pursuing the investment in the filming studios rather than filming only. Filming studios is actually a manufacturing plant. It's an investment. It's a significant investment. And behind every investment, there is a commitment. None in this world will come to Greece to invest millions of euro and then say, well, forget about it, I'm going to go someplace else, because the 40% has become 42%. When you invest, you're there for the long run. When you invest, you make a commitment. And this is precisely why I think that the industrial investments, βιομηχανική, όπως λέμε στα ελληνικά, is the locomotive of the development, and this is why we put so much of emphasis into attracting industrial investments in the country. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. The 40% is of course, very important, but like you just said, 2 countries over, it'll be 42%. As soon as you're 40%, it'll be 42%. So it's more the commitment. Agreed. Agreed. Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, I'd like to build on the previous gentleman's point. I think his point, and it steered something in me, being an economist myself. Greece has a comparative advantage of its own, which is its history, its tragic tragedias, ancient Greek history and theater. Very good actors, very good artwork, but it's actually frustrated and extremely discombobulated, I would say. Discombobulated all over the place. It's a bit like the system of building a movie, only it's constant like that here. Mm-hmm. So what I think the gentleman was trying to say, and in my understanding, is should we also try to figure out ways by which we can solidify the already existing
the arts community, is that what you're saying?
The arts community, the fact that we do have some very good human capital already developed and a lot of talent here. But we don't necessarily have Greek movies. We don't have the Almodovars renowned and known.
But you don't know, I really understand what you're saying, and that's what he, yeah. Oh, I see, that's what he was saying.
So I think the distinction should be, which is very simple, but very thin also, how can we improve through our infrastructure the income that we will get as a country, and at the same time not being perceived just as a third world space that can provide the infrastructure, but also have a wave of, a local generated art.
Sure. I have to say, ma'am, pardon me for this, but I have to say to you that I think, I'm not positive, I can only go by myself and the people I know in my business around the world. We don't think of Greece in terms of art as a third, or in any case, as a third world country. We just don't. We understand the artistic contribution that Greece has made. And I'm not just putting platitudes out there for you, I promise you, I'm not. I'm saying the truth. We know what a Greek actor can do. We know what a Greek writer can do. And certainly all we have to do is think about, if we choose to, we can say, what about those ancient Greeks, if we choose to. So I really do want to say that part to you first. But then I understand what you're saying on the other hand. And that's a tricky question. And it's not it's a tricky concept. I mean, this takes time. You don't have an Almodovar, maybe you do and you don't know it yet. Maybe that person is sitting in this room today or trying to get a film going. And I believe this is where the pandemic comes in a little bit. I believe that young filmmakers, the film world, worldwide, is changing. The young men and women I see more young filmmakers today than ever before. Old guys like me, yeah, we're still doing it, but the young men and women are really making their way today. The woman who won the Oscar last year, the Chinese director, Chinese-American director who won the Oscar last year for Nomadland is, she's 31 or something like that. And she's the Almodovar of today. So they're there, and I can't imagine there isn't some beautiful Greek filmmaker ready to go and ready to be there. And yes, I'm enthusiastic about it, but I don't think I'm dreaming. I've been in this business long enough to know that artists pop up from nowhere, so to speak. And today, with the technology that we have to work with today, and the storytelling skill. So personally, to me, I believe that this industry is evolving. And what's the next moment of this industry? It's storytelling, as usual, and forever. That'll never change. But it's also the use of technology. And when I say that, I don't mean big explosions and that's not the technology I'm talking about. I'm talking about the skills that are available to us today. And again, this is where a place like this very institution comes into it. The concept of teaching and learning in an organization like this is going to kind of coalesce what you're talking about. I hope that doesn't sound too rah, rah, rah. I don't mean it to. I'm very sincere about what I'm saying.
Yes. Hello, gentlemen. Thank you for being here today, first of all, and thank you for a very insightful presentation so far.
You're welcome.
I, with your permission, would like to add something to the discussion about infrastructure that you proposed. First of all, I am a film director, and I have a movie coming out this spring called The Rocket, everyone.
See, you
My name is Stefanos Sitaras.
He's selling his movie right here.
So there was a film that was shot here in Greece about a year ago called Beckett with John David Washington, a Netflix production. And a lot of Greek people, some friends of mine, worked on that picture. And when it came out, like some months ago on Netflix, I sat through the end credits waiting to see a bunch of my friends, as one does. And what really frustrated me was how should I put this? They brought drivers from Italy in Greece.
No good.
And as far as human capital goes, perhaps beyond the education level, as you've pointed out, there's a communication lapse, I think, because the people do exist. I've worked with them. We have sound recorders, we have camera operators, and they're bringing them from abroad. So I do think, and maybe this exists, I just don't really know it, maybe as part of the infrastructure, and this is cheap and quick, there should be a database, an efficient working database where people can find people. Let's say that I'm a production from Canada and I want to find a colorist. All I should have to do is just type in color grader Athens.
Well, of course.
But this doesn't, maybe it exists, but this should be part of the infrastructure, I think, because as you've said, there's key people and there's like the carpentry. There's the manpower behind this. So this is not really a question, it's just like an addition to your point. An online database should be part of the infrastructure, I think.
Well, certainly it should be. And it's strange to hear that you don't have that database for the sound recordists, for those who do sound recording. It doesn't make any sense that there isn't a database. But again, unless I'm just making this up, this is where this university can help that important, simple issue. It's a simple issue, isn't it? Sound recording. Not sound recording, but the database for sound recording.
Clearly there should be a database. I think there is one with ECOME. But I think it also goes down to the reputation that in time a country builds. Because at some point in time, the director of that movie, the one that makes a decision as to whether they should bring Italian drivers or use Greek drivers, made a decision on grounds of what the reality is, or what the perception is, what their idea had been at the moment in time. And I think that the more of work is being done, the more of positive image is being created, the more of goodwill is being created, the possibilities that they will use Greek drivers instead of Italian drivers is strong.
Somebody told that producer, no, the Greek drivers can't handle it.
I'm not an expert in film industry by any standards, but I have seen it so many times in so many industrial sectors that impressions and perceptions make a difference.
I want to answer it because it's not true. Database exists, film commission exists, all the structure to attract the foreigners.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
If someone cannot access in these databases, it's not a problem of the structure that we have in Greece, but maybe the knowledge that he don't have. Because we have a very strong, and the Hellenic Film Commission is related with the international film commissions and with the European Association of the Film Commission, and participate with ECOME in all the presentations, in the foreigners forums and everything, and all the structure of the industry, knowing the possibility of the country. The problem is the confidence, because many years before, the studios of the United States have a directive to don't use Greek technicians or Greek actors, etc., because it's in period of 1890, the result of the collaboration with the Greek technicians and the unions in this period was dramatic. So
it's a matter of communication. And,
exactly.
And passing the message to the right
And I
people.
can almost, I don't know this for sure, but I can almost imagine that today that's changed. We'll see. We'll see.
It was with the shooting of Jeffrey's in Creta and the period of the film of, I don't remember the title, that Scorsese shot in Acropolis. Remember the film with Scorsese, the Stories of New York.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
This period was this bad situation about why the Greeks accommodate the foreigners' production, but now this is end.
I think so. Yeah. Yes.
Welcome to our university. I wanted to say, as an artist working a lot in the States and in other places in Europe, and also as an elected representative of the Greek Directors Guild in Europe, my experience tells me, trying to bridge here the thoughts and the discussion, that we should possibly, the problem is not how the States or other countries perceives Greek artists, but more how Greece appreciates and sees the artistic community. I think the problem is more internal.
That's so interesting, of course. And thank you for bringing that up. Part of human nature, right? How the Greeks themselves perceive it. Fascinating.
Hi, my name is Maria. I'm in the startup industry, nothing to do with the film industry. But I work closely with innovation and people that is in the tech industry. And I was wondering if it's worth, let's say, investing in technology transfer, educational programs for people working in the film industry to kind of learn more, let's say, skills for After Effects, not investing necessarily in heavy industry infrastructure, but to invest in the human resources for the technology.
Well, there's no question about it in my mind. As I said a moment ago, today the future of this film business begins with storytelling, and then absolutely alongside storytelling today is technology. And what you're talking about is not only is it urgent in film creation, but it's available and amazing, the work that can be done from a technological point of view to enhance the story, right? So, yeah, I agree, for sure.
Would Greece be a competitive market for that?
Certainly, I would think so. But you got to create the marriage, or the relationship anyway, before the marriage.
Okay, hello, my name is Eleni. I'm a film producer. Thank you for the discussion and also for everybody's points. But going on from your point, having lived in Greece for 27 years, I remember reaching out to Dino De Laurentiis, maybe in the early 2002, something like that, to bring Alexander the Great here as a film. And I remember the obstacles I had, particularly with the Ministry of Culture, that the script wasn't in tune with being a Greek story, because for some reason they were going to make him not really a man but something else. Anyway, but I didn't get much support from the government at the time, and so what I can say now is I can see there is a lot of positive movement forward.
Well, for God's sake, I hope so, after 27 years.
Well, it's been a long struggle. I really was talking about this earlier, that I got the first award for new talent for story development. We didn't have story development here, so it is positive what I've seen. But I think I want to go to your point that we need to also invest in great filmmaking, and this infrastructural side of what we're doing with Ecomé and the Ministry of this cash rebate. Is it going into development of telling Greek stories so we can tell the world about what we are as a culture, not only by attracting international filmmaking to Greece for jobs, which I understand we need to have the jobs and we need the satellite opportunities around that. But how do we start telling and working together to tell the Greek stories as well, to represent who we are as an industry, as a culture, as a people to the rest of the world? Because we do often forget that we are not ancient Greece anymore. We are modern Greece. And I think
hope
we need
you
to
believe that, because you are modern Greeks.
Yes.
Whether you like it or not.
We have to get out of the past and talk about a little bit where we are today. So how can we do that?
And you know what happened with Alexander the Great, would you say 27 years ago? Well, whatever, however many years ago. I really do think, from my experience, and yes, I was kidding when I said 113 years in the business, but I've been in the business now and have been part of the evolution of the business from the day I started to today, the day I worked for Spiros Skouras to today. And what happened when Alexander the Great decided something else is less likely to happen, not impossible, because, item number one always is the money. Item number one also always is, what this country has to, you have to offer in terms of everything from infrastructure to location to storytelling. So it all goes hand in hand, but whatever mistake they made back then, it was clearly a mistake, because the movie didn't do very well either, did it? No, it didn't.
My question going back
Well, you know, it's because of the writing program that's going to be happening at this university one of these days. I mean, that's a part of it, isn't it? Of course it is. It's about the encouragement that the writers get from filmmakers and scholars and film people. And we, again, my wife and I, have been talking about, you know, how do we help? Who do we say, hey, you want to spend a summer in Greece teaching screenwriting or talking screenwriting? Hard to teach screenwriting as much as it is to talk screenwriting with somebody. And you know, I think it's the what begins as a skittish relationship becomes encouraging and rich and, you know, positive for the Greek writer who can write the story that you're talking about. Don't you think, or do you think? Am I? I'm.
The culture within itself needs to talk to itself and listen and to tell the stories. It's not only about American films coming to Greece. This is where we need to invest also in Greek storytelling.
But if I may, yeah, right. If I may say my opinion from a little bit different point of view is that I like to be very pragmatic and very realistic. Personally, I was born and raised in Greece. I love Greek stories, and I would hope to see more Greek stories becoming great movies. But on the other hand, when you wear my shoes and do what I do, you have to create a level play field in which they can shoot and film in Greece Greek stories and Italian stories and French stories and US stories. And at the end of the day, the one factor that is going to make a difference as to whether there is going to be more Greek stories or not is how attractive the stories are.
Surely.
And how much saleable they are and how marketable they are. Because the one thing that makes a difference at the end of the day is money. The one thing that makes the difference at the end of the day is how successful the movie will be and the promises will be retained and the expectations will be met. The careers will be fulfilling their endeavors, and you do not end up making Greek stories for the sake of Greek stories. So the idea is how in the art world one can take advantage of who we are in order to do something great, something spectacular. And if I may just take 2 more minutes, because I've spent so much of time in this, I just want to share with you my vision of the image of Greece and the Greek stories. And there are, I think, 3 pillars to it. One is the pillar, you mentioned something about that earlier, is who we are. It's our DNA, it's our history, it's our civilization, it's what we come from. It has to do with philosophy and it has to do with Greece and what it had been in the past. And this is so significant, so big, so sizable, that it is not only great, but it is a burden in our back, because nothing we can do can ever make it any stronger, any bigger than the past. And it is great. I love it. And I'm so grateful to God that it is there. Second pillar is the natural beauty. It's the country. Sure. It's the site. It's the Greek summer. It's the food. It's the hospitality. It's the sea. It is spending time and the lifestyle in Greece. And this is a great thing. And there is a third pillar, which is the negative pillar of Greece, the inefficiency, the bureaucracy, and all of the negative connotations that go about the past 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of Greece. And this is the thing that we ought to change, because there is that fourth pillar of what we actually are today. And we are a country of the first pillar and the second, and a country that changes the third pillar to what we stand for today. And it is so difficult in so many ways to boost that reality of what Greece stands for. I'm sorry, I'm taking
not at
too
all.
much time.
Please
I'm
keep
just
going.
becoming very passionate with it because one of my responsibilities as a Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs is to provide to the Greek community in Greece or abroad, to the businessman that travels to Germany to set up a joint venture with a German company, or in England or in France or in the United States, to stand up on his feet and say, I come from Greece of 2021.
Sure.
And it is a good thing to carry along with me the past of the last 3,000 years, but there is more to what you think Greece is today. So I think that Greek stories should be related to not only Alexander the Great, but also the Greece of 2021, because there is a beautiful story to tell of how a country managed to accomplish what we are today with the carpenters that we may have and not have,
right,
but the sound technicians, the cinematographers, and the directors and the actors, and all of the artistic endeavors that are being played out in the minds of the people that may be listening to us today. So I'm sorry if I took more time than expected, but I just wanted to say what I said.
Not at all, Mr. Minister. Bravo. Bravo to you for that. Absolutely. I want to ask you a question. Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, do you agree?
Absolutely. I think we're saying the same things, and I love
I think so too.
It's not about Alexander the Great. I have been living in the 20th century, we're saying the same things, and I'm so happy to see this happening right now because we have.
Sorry, we need your cooperation with the microphone. We have only one, so you just wait a minute.
Okay.
We're going to bring it to you.
Say it again, please.
One more thing, I would just ask everyone to put your questions in a fast forward, because I need to leave in 10 minutes. I need to be at the Minister for Foreign Affairs.
I'll stay for a while.
Okay, I just want to say thank you for the passion. We share I think we're saying the same thing. So
yeah,
because you need to leave in 10 minutes, I would love to talk to you more about this at another point, about what we're doing. We have a film coming from San Francisco, which is very exciting, in Germany. How do we develop those stories and tell the stories that they're Greek stories, but also international? So thank you for sharing your passion.
Yeah, good.
It feels good to me as well.
And you're not talking about Alexander the Great either, are you? Wait. You're not talking about Alexander. No, of course. You're talking about a story that is whatever it is. It's a universal story, right? Of course, yes.
Was that your question?
Yeah.
No, it's not Alexander.
Okay, wait. Let somebody else talk.
Let me contribute in the thought of the minister. First of all, we have Zorba the Greek. Until now, we sell Greece through Thodorakis and the music, and it's an international success with a Greek director, Greek Cypriot director, financed by Fox, and international distribution with participation of Greek and no Greek actors. And in the same time, few years after, we have Yorgos Lanthimos with a big success of Dogtooth, and now with a big career in the United States and the United Kingdom. So the road have some stops in the between. Let's find these between stops.
Of course. That was then, this is now. Yes, Nancy?
I just wanted, it seems I'm Sid's partner for 40 years. I think what I'm hearing from everybody is the structure. There's a lot of talent, a lot of skills, whether it's writers, directors, producers, but there isn't the structure that is a connective tissue here. And I think that's what we're talking about, helping create. And once that happens, for example, on the drivers, once you have production or location managers, they will know how to pull that all together so somebody doesn't have to come in and create it. The production manager will understand that, but you need to train production managers that understand how to get the right locations, how to get the right people to do those jobs. And I think once that structure is here, you have an incredible wealth of talent and background and skills and everything that can make this a very rich environment to work in on many levels, not just those skills, but the incredible setting that few people can, few places in the world could replicate.
Sure.
You've really got it here.
Thank us for
naturally.
the clarity, Nancy. That's why we're partners for 35 years. But it's really important. I mean, you said it in a way. I mean, we're all talking about bringing it together today in the modern world of Greek filmmaking, of Greece, of working in Greece. Everything from the incentives to begin with, to the infrastructure, to the, you know, the clarity, the direction that we need to be in, that we need to be moving in.
I just want to say that the problem is a little more complicated. That's me. Well, first of all, there is a database. I mean, there are several databases. Of course, the Greek Film Center has one. There are databases by the local film offices. Mr. Kalogeropoulos was here, but he just left from the Athens Film Office. There is also a database created by the film office in Thessaloniki. The problem is that there is an imbalance between demand and supply right now, because there are so many productions coming to Greece, and that there is a limit to what we can offer as a country.
That is a nice problem to have,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Exactly.
It's a nice problem, but it is a problem.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Exactly. And the other thing is that they don't all have the expertise needed for the major productions created in Greece. There's a big difference about making a movie and making a Hollywood movie, and people cannot understand that. And we had actually, because there was somebody mentioned a driver from Italy. We had a huge discussion with most of the American productions coming to Greece now, and there is lack of skills in crew. And because we have drivers, doesn't mean that we have drivers with the expertise of handling, servicing a big American production. There's a big difference. Also, I wouldn't compare Greece to Spain, because the Spanish language is a language that is being spoken in many countries. I would actually compare it more to Scandinavian countries, which have a difficulty, but they have managed to create amazing TV series and films that sell all over the world. And I think that would be a great example. How we can become the next Denmark, not the next Spain, because we don't have the same language. We have a language that is being spoken by only 10 million people all over the world.
Mr. Ganis, speaking of technology, I have a confession to make. This thing just told me that I need to be at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in 5 minutes. So I thought it was going to make our life easier. Now they find you on Saturday or Sunday at 6 o'clock in the morning, anywhere in the world. But I just wanted to tell you how honored and pleased I am to have met you.
Thank you, Mr. Minister.
And thank you so much for spending the time you did with us, with me. And I wish to apologize if I have been a little bit more passionate and politically correct.
You were brilliant,
by saying
Mr.
what
Minister.
I said. I'm just very passionate with what I do, and I thank you very much for listening to me. Apologies that I had to leave it a little bit earlier.
Okay.